Well, greetings, everyone. If you could take your seats and come on in, and feel free to move closer to the front if you would like. We are going to go ahead and get started. We've got lots of awards to give, as well as a wonderful address that you're about to hear. So greetings and welcome to the annual Presidential Address and Awards Ceremony, sponsored by Taylor and Francis. So my name is Roseanne Manzik, and I am the first Vice President of the National Communication Association. Thank you. So before we begin tonight's program, I'd like to ask that we pause for a moment of reflection. NCA asks that you join us in acknowledging the indigenous communities and their elders, both past and present, within not only Seattle area, but Washington State as well. NCA acknowledges that it is often gathered upon unceded lands, and that those gatherings manifested the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the grave harm that colonialism brought to these lands, in particular the erasure of both indigenous and African identities via slavery and via racist laws that segregated all peoples into binary classifications of white and black. This acknowledgement demonstrates our commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. It's now my great pleasure to introduce NCA's 107th President, Dr. David T. Mcmahon. Dr. Mcmahon is a professor of communication at Missouri Western State University. He received his PhD from the University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes, in 2001, with research focusing on the social aspects of media and technology, personal relationships, and rhetorical criticism. Dr. Mcmahon has published over 10 books, including Internet Communication, Introduction to Communication Criticism, Relational Communication, The Basic of Communication, and the best-selling Communication in Everyday Life series. His research and other works have also been published in numerous academic journals and anthologies. His extensive record of service includes president of the Central States Communication Association, editor of the Iowa Journal of Communication, and consulting editor of the Journal of Communication Pedagogy, along with membership and activity on a vast number of academic committees, executive boards, and editorial boards. He's taught courses which span the discipline of communication and has received several awards for his work in the classroom. In particular, Dr. Mcmahon's service to NCA has been exemplary, both in shepherding us through our virtual 2020 convention and leading with deliberate care this year through our executive director transition. Now, even though we are both Iowa Hawkeyes by degree, I didn't know David personally until I had the pleasure of working with him this last few years. And I have to say that I truly have come to value his genuine good nature and his sense of humor, even and maybe especially at the most challenging moments. So thanks, David, for all of your outstanding service and contributions to NCA. Now, please join me in welcoming for his address, Assessing and Advancing the Discipline, NCA's 107th President, Dr. David T. Mcmahon.
Thanks. I attended my first NCA 25 years ago in San Diego. That was particularly memorable because as someone fresh off the rural Indiana countryside, I wasn't exactly a seasoned traveler. It was also memorable because my mentor, Jim Chesbrough, was president that year, and I had the opportunity to listen to Jim give the presidential address. Now, being one of Jim's students was a remarkable experience. Jim wanted his students to not only understand communication, but also contribute to the continued advancement of the discipline through their own scholarship, teaching, and service. I think he'd be pleased that 25 years later, the student sitting in that audience that day would be up here giving the presidential address. And the continued advancement of the discipline is what I want us to talk about today. Now, emerging from one of the most tumultuous periods ever experienced by the academic world provides an opportune time to assess the state of the discipline and consider its future. Now, the discipline of communication is strong. From my vantage point as NCA president, I continue to be amazed by the expansiveness of the discipline, the strength of its scholarship, the quality of its instruction at all levels and types of institutions. Above all, I remain amazed by the dedication to scholarship, teaching, disciplinary, and public service expressed through the remarkable efforts of the members of this discipline. Degree completion, job and salary reports, graduate student placement numbers, publication impact factors, and other such measures all indicate that the discipline of communication is strong and growing in many areas. Now, at the same time, we must be mindful of areas in need of development and must be prepared to adapt to ever-fluctuating academic environments if we are to continue advancing the discipline. Now, foundationally, inclusivity, diversity, equity, and access must be at the forefront of all our efforts. We must also champion free expression and public discourse. We must additionally welcome and support scholars from multiple types of academic institutions with different theoretical and methodological interests, and with different perspectives and different objectives for the study of communication. These foundational actions should be taken because they're right and because they're necessary for the continued advancement of our discipline. Now, with those foundational elements in place, three particular challenges demand our attention if we are to secure, strengthen, and further development the discipline of communication. First, we must do a better job of promoting the discipline. Second, we must strive for convergence in the discipline. And third, we must encourage change in the discipline. Now, in what follows, these challenges introduced and developed through my Spectra columns this year will be examined along with ways in which they might be addressed through personal efforts and through broader disciplinary endeavors. Now, our first challenge, we must do a better job of promoting the communication discipline. What we study is beyond essential and fundamental to every aspect of life. Few other disciplines, if any, can match the centrality of communication. Our discipline is significant, is impactful, has a great deal to offer, and we should not keep those facts to ourselves. Such promotion is especially necessary in increasingly challenging academic environments which are fraught with rising competition for both majors and resources, program restructuring and elimination, shifting notions of the purpose and value of higher education, and myriad other concerns. Now, here I want to discuss which groups we might be targeting through such promotion and discipline-specific issues to consider when doing so. Now, first, we should promote the discipline of communication to students. Now, this group may seem obvious, but we must continuously recognize the importance of both recruiting and graduating majors. Idealistically, recruiting and graduating majors is a good thing because we know the positive impact a degree on communication will have in the lives of students. Pragmatically, recruiting and graduating majors is a good thing because decisions about funding, program preservation, or outright elimination are often dependent on raw numbers of students. Our discipline, more than most others, enables students to make a positive social impact and secure good employment beyond the personal and relational development and other benefits received from our courses. We must promote all of these qualities to students. We should also promote the discipline of communication to other disciplines. The centrality of communication in personal, professional, creative, and civic worlds means our work can inform and enhance the work of other disciplines in profound ways. However, we shouldn't expect other disciplines to recognize the value of our discipline and come to us. Rather, we need to inform and reach out to them. Now, other disciplines may be less likely to engage in such actions, and you might question why we should be expected to do so. But most other disciplines don't have communication's expansiveness and multifaceted impact. Promoting the significance and value of our research and helping to answer the questions posed in other disciplines will ultimately bolster and enhance our own research and discipline. We should further promote the discipline of communication to our institutions. Our institutions should be made aware of the value of our courses and degrees, the achievement of our graduates, and the successes and contributions of our faculty, staff, and students. Above all, we must ensure that our institutions recognize and understand how the discipline of communication recognize and understand how it supports their respective missions, values, and goals. Now, though institutional missions and strategic plans vary, there are often common elements, especially with the latter, which the discipline of communication supports quite well. We must promote how our programs support the philosophies and priorities established by our respective institutions and how our programs assist in achieving our institution's objectives and goals. Finally, we should promote the discipline of communication to our communities. In part, the promotion of the discipline to our communities involves engagement in community support and service. The ability to use our skills and expertise to assist and support our communities sets us apart from other disciplines, with their areas of study not readily as transferable. But extending beyond public service, the promotion of our discipline to our communities also involves establishing links with businesses, nonprofits, government entities, media outlets. Informing them about our work and creating connections with them will assist in increasing recognition of the scope of our discipline and the extent of our impact. We cannot keep the significance, impact, and contributions of the discipline of communication to ourselves, especially given increasingly challenging academic environments. We must share the communication discipline's value with others. Our second challenge, we must strive for convergence in the discipline. Few other disciplines can match the expansiveness of communication. Such expansiveness can be regarded as one of the many strengths of the discipline. But this particular strength, however, is also one of the discipline's potential weaknesses, sometimes resulting in the separation of scholars and the subsequent disconnection of scholarship. Communication scholars quite often study one area of the discipline while devoting little attention to other areas. For many disciplines, focusing on a single area of study at the expense of others may not be particularly detrimental. However, the interconnected nature of communication necessitates that attention to be paid to many areas of the discipline. The interaction between many areas of our discipline is so significant, and the symbolic systems composing them so enmeshed that legitimately distinguishing them as separate entities becomes impossible except through artificially constructed boundaries. The separation of communication scholars at institutions potentially hinders the ability to develop a unified front within institutions, potentially places them in direct competition for increasingly scarce funding, faculty lines, and other resources. This separation also promotes the intellectual fragmentation of scholarship. Given the interconnected nature of communication, a more complete and accurate understanding is hindered when areas are studied in isolation. Voids in research are possible when topics near perceived boundary lines are viewed as the purview of scholars in other areas, and the lack of cross-citation of resultant separate literatures results in missed opportunities to promote and develop our discipline's work. Associations might promote the convergence of areas of study by increasing the number of interest groups to which a member might belong, a measure recently enacted by NCA, developing special programming, events, and publications that encourage and support the connections of scholars and scholarship in various areas. However, fostering the convergence of areas of study and attending to potential issues arising from separation are most effectively addressed at the individual level. Here I'll examine 4 activities in which we might engage. First, I want you to forge connections with other communication scholars within your institution. The availability of such connections and what those connections might entail will naturally vary depending on the composition of specific institutions, your position, and your role. Even within a single department, though, establishing connections among colleagues becomes challenging, with members from different areas isolated and occasionally even placed in opposition. Seek out opportunities for discussion, explore avenues for collaboration in teaching, research, university matters, community engagement. Such collaboration can enhance personal professional endeavors and strengthen disciplinary bonds. Second, develop opportunities for student engagement in multiple areas of study in the discipline. Faculty should examine their programs to make sure students have the opportunities to experience courses from multiple areas of the discipline through established tracks of study, encouraging students to take courses in multiple areas, or perhaps establishing colloquia to bring students from different areas together. Despite existing program constraints and departmental pressures, students should seek opportunities to experience classes in multiple areas so they broaden their understanding of the discipline and consequently enhance their understanding of their primary area of study. Third, seek out professional opportunities that will give you a chance to experience other areas of study in the discipline. Now, time is limited at conventions, of course, and it's important to remain current on recent developments in your primary area of study. Nevertheless, we should all strive to schedule attendance at panels that address topics that fall outside our primary area. Beyond increasing appreciation for the expansiveness of the discipline and the quality of work taking place, experiencing new ideas and approaches can inform and reinvigorate our own research and teaching. Finally, explore and incorporate scholarship of other areas of study in the discipline. Now, time is limited, not only at conventions, but all professional life, and incorporating additional reading into already busy schedules is a luxury many people might see as unviable. Nevertheless, reading work that addresses topics that are outside our primary areas of interest will lead to greater appreciation of the discipline and a better understanding of our own areas. Now, calling for convergence in our areas of study does not mean arguing for a unified field of study, abandoning specialization, or forcing connections that have no true merit or purpose. It does mean appreciating the interconnected nature of communication, recognizing the issues that may arise from existing disconnections in our areas of study, and recognize the potential advantages of developing better connections in the discipline of communication. Now, our third and final challenge, we must encourage change in the discipline. One of the many strengths of the communication discipline is the changing nature of what we study requires continued inquiry and innovation. Academic pursuits within the discipline have the potential to be continuously active and dynamic, and the potential for new pathways development are infinite. More than in most other disciplines, what we study, what we teach, how we study, and how we teach should be in a constant state of development and transformation. Unfortunately, we don't always engage in sufficient development and transformation of our research and teaching. Emerging technologies are not studied as readily as they should be by the discipline that should be leading the way. Exclusionary definitional boundaries of human relationships and expectations of appropriate interaction persist and are insufficiently challenged. Theoretical and methodological approaches reflect the values, experiences, perspectives of those who have traditionally made up the professoriate, a group that lacks sufficient diversity. And likewise, the populations and symbol systems we study have been limited and restricted. And beyond our propensity to cover customary topics in our classrooms, our methods of instruction remain stagnant, often failing to respond to changes in our students. New styles of teaching, new styles of assessment, new styles of understanding of outcomes and goals remain untried and unincorporated in spite of their potential to enhance learning. Now, in fairness, all disciplines are resistant to change. However, we cannot simply maintain that similar impediments are confronted by other disciplines, and we're not as bad as other disciplines in this regard. The nature of what we study demands change and transformation. We simply must be better than other disciplines. Now, here I'll examine 3 perceived characteristics that impede academic change and once again offer some approaches to overcoming them. Now, first, academic change seems difficult. A couple factors make this change seem especially challenging. First, many of us are trained a particular way, understand a particular way. Changing that takes time. But second, scholars seeking to do anything straying too far from an artificially developed and maintained norm or standard often struggle to have their work fairly considered or evaluated. Now, changing the way we perceive change could be beneficial and effective. Rather than focusing on potential difficulty that may be encountered, focus on the potential rewards that may be achieved. There is a potential to influence a discipline, to advance an area of study, to make a meaningful academic societal impact. Academic change is difficult, but it's also rewarding. Second, academic change seems risky. Engaging in any sort of change comes with a certain degree of risk, the extent of which depends on just how much change is sought and the degree to which that change challenges established norms. Above all, there's the possibility of experiencing personal failure, even embarrassment, something in which most people are naturally averse. But once again, a change in perspective is necessary. Rather than focusing on potential threat from academic change, it's more beneficial to focus on opportunities that can be derived. Attempting academic change could result in failure, but the potential success that might be realized is worth that risk. Now, third, academic change seems isolating. Doing something different means doing something most people aren't doing, which can lead to feelings of isolation. New ideas and scholarship may not seem to fit. In some cases, change can result in separation from colleagues and mentors, interrupting support networks often essential to academic work. Perhaps the best way to combat feelings of isolation is to simply seek out like-minded people. Regardless of how unique an idea or approach might be, multiple people might have already thought the same thing, might have engaged in similar behaviors, or may very well be interested. It's also important to avoid becoming frustrated when people do not express appreciation for or even denounce work that is being accomplished to bring about change. Encountering such obstacles is frequently an indication that a person is on to something right. The changing nature of communication requires a constant state of development and transformation. However, such development and transformation are often hindered by structures and forces that reinforce academic norms and hindered by challenges generally associated with academic change. On a personal level, we must acknowledge and seek to overcome obstacles to academic change. At the disciplinary level, recognizing and altering disciplinary barriers to change will be necessary if we are to continue to develop as a discipline. Now, beginning to conclude, I am heartened by the strength and impact of this discipline. The future of the discipline of communication is bright, yet we must always be mindful of areas in need of improvement, and we must never be complacent. I encourage you all to consider the issues offered here and to think about the ways in which they might be addressed through your personal efforts and through broader disciplinary efforts as well. I will continue doing likewise and remain grateful and honored to be a member of this discipline with you as we advance the discipline of communication together. Thank you.
So as we have taken the steps together here this past several days to engage our visions of renewal and transformation, thank you, David, for that call and that charge to seek convergence and embrace change and all of the changes ahead. So we'll now begin the awards portion of this evening's event. Before we begin the presentation of the NCA awards, I'd like to acknowledge the 2021 recipients of the Presidential Citations for Service. At today's Legislative Assembly, the NCA President, David Mcmahon, conferred presidential citations on several individuals and institutions. And as I announce their names, I ask that you please hold your applause until all of the names have been announced. First, our outgoing executive committee members. Kent Ono, NCA officer and right now our immediate past president. Janetta D. Sims, Finance Committee Chair. Rachel Alicia Griffin, IDEA Council Chair. And J. Kevin Barge, Publication Council Chair. Next, our outgoing NCA journal editors, Greg Dickinson, Communication and Critical Cultural Studies, Craig Gingrich Philbrook, Text and Performance Quarterly. Next, our institution recognition for the University of Nevada, Reno for hosting the Institute for Faculty Development. And then finally, the following are presidential citations conferred in recognition of extraordinary dedication and contributions to the discipline of communication. Jordan Atkinson, Thomas D. Bovino, Carolyn Calloway Thomas, Karma R. Chavez, Steve Duck, Shinsuke Iguchi, Brian Gruey, Rona T. Halawane, Lisa Hanasano, Tina M. Harris, Ronald L. Jackson II, Andy Kachen Chang, Jimmy Manning, Eda Muta, Scott A. Myers, Thomas K. Nakayama, Elizabeth S. Parks, Narissa Punyanet Carter, Cypress Amber Rain, Leah Sewer, Carlos Tarin, Douglas M. Trank, Lynn H. Turner, David A. Wendt, and Rich West. And many of them are joining us here on the stage. So congratulations and thank you to all of the recipients of the Presidential Citation for Service. All right, NCA is now very pleased to recognize the following recipients' distinguished achievements in our discipline. Each of this year's award recipients join an esteemed group of scholars and educators who have been honored in the past for achieving excellence in the areas of teaching, research, and service. The first award this evening is the Donald H. Eckroyd Award for Outstanding Teaching in Higher Education. And this year, the award is presented to Lanier Frisch-Holt of The Ohio State University. Dr. Holt's record exemplifies the potential of educators to nurture students from diverse backgrounds to become future leaders. Student comments attest to Dr. Holt's transformative classroom support, excellent mentorship, and thorough advising. Congratulations, Dr. Holt. Congratulations. The Bernard J. Brommel Award for Outstanding Scholarship or distinguished service in family communication recognizes the scholarship and academic leadership of individuals who have made outstanding contributions to the area of family communication. This year, the award is presented to Maureen P. Keeley of Texas State University. Who offices next door to me. Dr. Keeley's research, particularly on end-of-life communication and final conversations, has made a significant contribution to the field of family communication. Based primarily on extensive interviews with both adults and children, Dr. Keeley's research illuminates the importance of communication with and between the dying and their loved ones. Congratulations, Dr. Keeley. The Charles H. Wolbert Research Award is presented to an NCA member who has published a journal article or book chapter that has had a substantial impact on the discipline. This year, the award is presented to Lisa A. Flores of the University of Colorado Boulder for the article, Creating Discursive Space Through a Rhetoric of Difference, Chicana Feminists Craft a Homeland, originally published in the Quarterly Journal of Speech in 1996. Dr. Flores' article was ahead of its time and has, in its transformative influence, thrived for a generation. Dr. Flores moved Chicanx rhetoric from disciplinary invisibility to the path-breaking forefront of scholarship concerning marginalized identities, vernacular rhetoric, and discursive space. Congratulations, Dr. Flores. She's staying here. The Diamond Anniversary Book Award is presented to the author of the most outstanding scholarly book published in the last 2 years. This year, NCA is conferring 2 awards, and the first Diamond Anniversary Book Award is presented to Dr. Lisa A. Flores of the University of Colorado Boulder. For her book, Deplorable and Disposable, Public Rhetoric and the Making of the, quote, Illegal Immigrant, published by the Pennsylvania University Press in 2020. Dr. Flores' book provides timely research concerning communication, Latinx lived experiences, and human rights that combines historical analysis, theory, criticism, and intervention. This book is an excellent example of using cross-disciplinary research to arrive at what Flores calls racial rhetorical criticism that speaks to not only historical moments where these figures emerge in the first half of the 20th century, but also how they persist and shape narratives around immigration today. Congratulations, Dr. Flores. The second award is presented to Dr. Sarah Jackson of the University of Pennsylvania, Dr. Moya Bailey of Northwestern University, and Dr. Brooke Foucault-Wells of Northwestern University for their book, #Activism, Networks of Race and Gender Justice, published by MIT Press in 2020. Drs. Jackson Bailey and Foucault-Wells' book provides an excellent insight into the ways in which technology, social media, and generational communication practices contribute to social change. The methodological rigor and sophisticated analysis using hashtags as data reveals the growing phenomenon of social media activism, particularly as it relates to race, gender, and social justice. And accepting the award, we have Dr. Jackson and Dr. Foucault-Wells. Thank you. Congratulations. The Donald P. Cushman Memorial Award honors the top-ranked student-authored paper from all of the NCA interest groups that rank papers competitively at the NCA annual convention. This year, the award is presented to 2 students. The first Cushman Award is presented to Corinne Mitsui Sugino of the University of Pittsburgh for the essay, Intimacy, Exoticism, and Asian American Women, Theorizing Multiculturalism as Fetish. Corinne Masute Sukuno examines the phenomenon of Asian fetish or yellow fever, which colloquially refers to people who have a particular preference for dating Asian American women. Their essay considers this line of study along with the work of Marxist and psychoanalytic thinkers who have explored the theoretical processes of sexual fetishism and contemplates what Asian fetish reveals about the larger processes of Asian American racialization. Congratulations, Corinne. The second Cushman Award is presented to Anne Juliet G. Woodruff of the University of South Florida for the essay Conversations with My Son, a poetic autoethnography of Black mothering experiences. Woodruff extends the work of Black feminist scholars and poets Audre Lorde, Patricia Hill Collins, and Patricia Williams by examining the ways in which Black mothers use anger to make sense of their lives amidst the continuous law enforcement sanctioned killing of Black men by white police. Through poetry, Woodruff intertwines their voice with those of Black feminist voices of the past and present to reconstruct a narrative about Black mothering and Black boyhood amidst the spirit murders in communities of color in the United States. Congratulations, Anne Juliet. The Douglas Enninger Distinguished Rhetorical Scholar Award honors scholars who have executed research programs in rhetorical theory, rhetorical criticism, or public address studies that demonstrate intellectual creativity, determination, and impact on academic communities. The winner of the 2021 Enninger Award is Dr. Charles E. Morris III of Syracuse University. As one of the early scholars of queer studies and rhetoric, Dr. Charles E. Morris III has shaped the field with extraordinary boldness and engagement. His body of research in historic public address has transformed the field, both through their recovery of otherwise neglected GLBTQ rhetoric and through his work to queer our understanding of rhetorical theory and criticism. Congratulations, Dr. Morris. The Franklin S. Heyman Award for Distinguished Scholarship in Freedom of Expression is given to the authors of exemplary research published in the area of freedom of expression. This year, the award is presented to Dr. Amy Lai of Freie Universität Berlin for the book The Right to Parody, published by Cambridge University Press in 2019. Dr. Lai's book compellingly argues for an expansive definition of parody to maximize authors' free speech while simultaneously providing robust protections for those who engage in cultural critique. Dr. Lai was unable to attend the ceremony, so NCA accepts the award on her behalf. Congratulations. The Gerald M. Phillips Award for Distinguished Applied Communication Scholarship recognizes NCA members with a distinguished record of research and creative scholarship in applied communication. This year, the Phillips Award is presented to Tamara De Affifi of the University of California, Santa Barbara. Dr. Affifi's applied scholarship contributed to a methodological shift in the areas of interpersonal and family communication, from the primary relevance on laboratory environments, student samples, and online surveys, to the examination of the participants' processes of communication in their natural environment. Dr. Affifi was unable to attend the ceremony today with us, so NCA accepts the award on her behalf. Congratulations. The Gerald R. Miller Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award recognizes the most outstanding dissertations completed the previous year. This year, 3 awards are being presented. The first award is presented to Comfort Toshin Abadeo of Towson University for the dissertation completed at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee entitled Maternal Healthcare Experiences of African American Women in Milwaukee, a relational dialectics perspective. This dissertation presents an understanding of African American women's constructions of meaning at the site of maternal health and identifies the discourses that permeate through African American women's experiences. Participant quotations serves as exemplars within the dissertation and revealed an impressive level of in-depth interviewing by the author. Congratulations, Dr. Abadeo. The second Gerald R. Miller Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award is presented to Rice Self of Southwestern University. Oh, sorry, Rico, it says Rice here. I'm so sorry. It's a typo in my book. My apologies. Is presented to Rico Self of Southwestern University for the dissertation completed at Louisiana State University entitled Ties That Bind, Black Familyness and the Politics of Contingent Coalitions. This study expands upon ongoing developments of Black queer studies in communication. In this dissertation, Self examines the historical and cultural significance of Black familyness and features a unique, cutting-edge perspective of Black queer studies as the analytic. This dissertation complicates the disciplinary approaches to understanding Black and African American identities and spaces. Congratulations, Dr. Self. The third Gerald R. Miller Outstanding Doctoral Dissertation Award is presented to Rachel R. Vanderbilt of the Pennsylvania State University for the dissertation completed at the aforementioned university entitled Antecedents and Consequences of Communication About Serial Arguments, a longitudinal study of associations between and within and between conflict episodes. This dissertation uses quantitative research to examine communication in serial arguments in romantic relationships. It investigates the possibility that perceived resolvability is more than just an antecedent or consequent condition of conflict episodes, but rather is a foundational tenet of larger argument processes. Congratulations, Dr. Vanderbilt. The Golden Anniversary Monograph Award is presented to the most outstanding scholarly monograph published during the previous calendar year. This year, the award is presented to Cheryl R. Jorgensen-Earp of the University of Lynchburg and Darwin D. Jorgensen of Roanoke College for the article To Fly Under Borrowed Colors, Insulin Discovery Accounts, Scientific Credit, and the Nobel Prize, published in Rhetoric and Public Affairs in 2020. In this study, Dr. Jorgensen-Earp and Dr. Jorgensen examine the struggle over credit for the discovery of insulin beginning in the early 1920s. The authors argue that the need for such credit in the insulin discovery episode led to a series of informal self-narratives by the principals involved in the research. These informal self-narratives formed the basis for the intensive lobbying for credit and took on a form that was remarkably different from the temporal narratives and rigorous proofs to be found in formal scientific arguments and lectures. Dr. Jorgensen-Earp and Dr. Jorgensen are unable to attend the ceremony with us today, but NCA accepts the award on their behalf. So congratulations to them. The James A. Winans Herbert A. Elms Memorial Award for Distinguished Scholarship in Rhetoric and Public Address was established by students, colleagues, and admirers of these two distinguished Cornell University professors. This year, the Winans Elms Award is presented to two researchers for their exemplary work. The first winner is Lisa A. Flores of the University of Colorado Boulder for their book Deplorable and Disposable, Public Rhetoric and the Makings of the Illegal Immigrant, published by the Pennsylvania State University Press. Dr. Flores' book represents the very best of rhetorical scholarship for its well-developed and extensive archival research and theorization on how immigration and race are constructed. The discussion of the rhetorical construction of race for Mexican Americans through four tropes, the illegal alien, the zoot suitor, the braquero, and the wetback in the 1920s to the 1950s, demonstrates the early roots of these terms and how they've persisted into the 21st century. Congratulations, Dr. Flores. The second winner of the Winan Elms Award is Paul Staub of Vanderbilt University for the book Intellectual Populism, Democracy, Inquiry, and the People, published by Michigan State University Press in 2020. Dr. Staub's book responds to denunciations of populism as undemocratic and anti-intellectual by arguing that populism has contributed to a distinct and democratic intellectual tradition in which ordinary people, exemplified by Robert Ingersoll, Mary Baker Eddy, Thomas Davidson, Booker T. Washington, assume leading roles in the pursuit of knowledge. Congratulations, Dr. Staub. The James L. Golden Outstanding Student Essay in Rhetoric Award recognizes an outstanding essay by an undergraduate or pre-master's graduate student. This year, the award is presented to Alexandra Parr Balaram of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. For the essay, Rhetorical Altermodabilities, proposing a framework for the study of discourse, mobility, and resistance. Taking Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail as a case in point, Parr Balaram's essay proposes a framework for investigating the intersections of mobility, discourse, and resistance. Specifically, this essay illuminates the rhetorical processes linking physical to social movements and mobilization in the dynamic terrains of U.S. racial politics. Congratulations, Alexandra. The Carl R. Wallace Memorial Award seeks to promote and foster philosophical, historical, or critical scholarship in rhetoric and public discourse. This year, the Wallace Award is presented to Amanda Nell Edgar of the University of Memphis. Dr. Edgar's cutting-edge research program sits at the intersections of rhetoric, media, power, and identity. Their book, Silenced, Racial Justice and Sonic Relationality, promises to build upon and expand expertise in sound studies and social justice by examining the myriad ways that silence is deployed in public discourse. Congratulations, Dr. Edgar. The Leslie Irene Koger Award for Distinguished Performance is presented to a director, producer, teacher, or performer who manifests a superior career dedicated to performance. This year, the award is presented to M. Heather Carver of the University of Missouri. Dr. Carver models the artist-scholar dynamic with a steadiness of inquiry, a boldness of tongue, and a softness of reflexivity. Dr. Carver's performance work exemplifies the highest levels of artistic excellence and social efficacy in performance studies methodologies. Congratulations, Dr. Carver. The Mark L. Knapp Award in Interpersonal Communication recognizes individuals who have made significant scholarly contributions to the study of interpersonal communication. This year, the award is presented to Stephen R. Wilson of the University of South Florida. Dr. Wilson is prolific, productive, and programmatic in their work, blazing a trail for scholars of interpersonal influence, identity, intercultural interactions, and both marginalized and military families. Dr. Wilson's diverse scholarship explores interpersonal communication in myriad contexts, advancing both theory and research, and applying those to socially significant topics. Congratulations, Dr. Wilson. Next, the Marcia Houston Award honors a junior to mid-level career woman, scholar whose scholarship and research, teaching and service and advocacy to academia and to their local communities embodies critically examining social justice issues, diversity and inclusion, and equity. The 2021 recipient of the Houston Award is Aisha Durham of the University of South Florida. Dr. Durham's interdisciplinary research poses timely and necessary challenges to communication studies scholarship as they embrace transdisciplinary perspectives and embodied cultural experiences at the intersections of Black feminism, intercultural communication, and hip-hop studies. Dr. Durham's critical cultural communication scholarship takes seriously Black women and girls' communication, lives, and their futures. Congratulations, Dr. Durham. The Orlando L. Taylor Distinguished Scholarship Award in Africana Communication honors a scholar whose body of work demonstrates a sustained commitment to the study of African American and/or the African diasporic communication and culture. The 2021 recipient of the Taylor Award is Ronald L. Jackson II from the University of Cincinnati. Dr. Jackson truly is a trailblazer who integrates theory and praxis to examine the depth and breadth of African American communication and culture. Dr. Jackson's powerfully diverse and inclusive scholarship has helped support and usher in a new generation, actually generations, of Black and African American communication scholars. Congratulations, Dr. Jackson. The Stephen E. Lucas Debut Publication Award aims to identify and praise a contribution to the discipline by an author publishing their first scholarly book or journal article. This year, the award is presented to Christina M. Lee of Colorado State University for the article Theist Normativity and the Negation of American Atheist in Presidential Inaugural Addresses, published in Rhetoric and Public Affairs in 2020. In this work, Lee uses 20th century presidential inaugural addresses to illustrate how political rhetoric positions American atheists and the potential exclusionary impact of this positioning. Using the term theist normativity, Lee's work provides a strong foundation for the future theoretical and analytical perspectives, and in doing so, equips communication scholars to further illuminate the intricacies and implications of rhetoric on religious and/or spiritual identities. Congratulations, Christina. The Robert J. Kibler Memorial Award recognizes individuals with commitment to their profession, concern for others, and acceptance of diversity and forthrightness. This year, the award is presented to Sharifnya Ramasubramanian of Syracuse University. Dr. Ramasubramanian has served NCA and the field of communication for more than 15 years and has continuously excelled in scholarship and tireless advocacy for diversifying the discipline. The scholarly work has involved a deep, sustained, and mutually beneficial relationship with important external communities around significant social concern. She was unable to attend our ceremony, so we accept the award on her behalf. So congratulations. The Samuel Becker Distinguished Service Award recognizes individuals who have made the greatest contributions in the areas of research, teaching, and service. This year, the award is presented to Patrice M. Buzzanell from the University of South Florida. Dr. Buzzanell has served NCA and the field of communication for over 35 years. Dr. Buzzanell has served on the NCA Research Council, the NCA Publications Council, the NCA Doctoral Education Committee. Also served as the scholar in residence for NCA's Institute for Faculty Development, as co-organizer of the Mid-Career Scholars Writing Retreat, and as a facilitator for the 2017 Legacy Training and Professional Development Series. Deep gratitude and congratulations to Dr. Buzzanell. The Idea Engagement Award is being presented for the first time this year. This award offers recognition for efforts and activities that engage communities in work that enhance the inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. This year, the award is presented to Julianne Scott Pollock of the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Dr. Scott Pollock's teaching engages students in personal narratives and provides them with a complex understanding of systematic injustices and how to resist and dismantle them. Dr. Scott Pollock's work in the classroom promotes the inclusion and celebration of children from different races, backgrounds, abilities, and gender identities, and examines how performance can help marginalized societal members share their stories without taking on the social risks of telling their stories through their marginalized body. Congratulations, Dr. Scott Pollock. The Idea Scholarship Award is also being presented for the first time. This award offers recognition for scholarly engagement with inclusion, diversity, equity, and access. This year, the award is presented to Lisa A. Flores of the University of Colorado Boulder. Dr. Flores' scholarship has added a needed voice to conversations about race and racialization, and their record of work consistently engages questions of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. The work has consistently created space for historically occluded voices to be heard and included, and especially and even within the field itself. Congratulations, Dr. Flores. The Distinguished Scholar Award recognizes and rewards a lifetime of scholarly achievement in the study of communication. The recipients of this award showcase our profession through their long-term commitment to the discipline and their consistent contributions of outstanding scholarship and intellectual leadership. It is my pleasure and my honor to present the 2021 NCA Distinguished Scholar. Our first distinguished scholar is Tamara De Affifi of the University of California, Santa Barbara. Dr. Affifi is chair and professor in the Department of Communication there at Santa Barbara. Her research examines, among other issues, how family members communicate when stressed and the impact of that communication on personal and relational health and information regulation in interpersonal context. Dr. Affifi has amassed nearly 150 publications during their career, with publications in the discipline's top journals, as well as several journals outside the discipline. Congratulations to Dr. Affifi. Our second distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Dr. Mohan Dota of Massey University. Dr. Dota is Dean's Chair Professor of Communication in the School of Communication, Journalism, Marketing at Massey University. His research examines the role of advocacy and activism in challenging marginalizing structures, the relationship between poverty and health, and the ways in which participatory culture-centered processes serve as axes of global social change, among other topics. The research program includes over 10 books, over 200 articles and book chapters, and has been cited over 12,000 times. Dr. Dota has directed 46 doctoral dissertations, facilitated numerous workshops, and served as editor of the Journal of Applied Communication. Congratulations to Dr. Dota. Our third distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Laura L. Ellingson of Santa Clara University. Dr. Ellingson is the Patrick A. Donahoe S.J. Professor at Santa Clara University. Her research focuses on gender in extended families, feminist and qualitative methodologies, and interdisciplinary collaborations and teamwork in healthcare organization. Dr. Ellingson has authored 6 books, including the multi-award-winning Communicating in the Clinic and the highly influential Engaging Crystallization in Qualitative Research, which introduced a groundbreaking new framework for multi-genre approaches to research. Congratulations, Dr. Ellingson. Our fourth distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is E. Patrick Johnson of Northwestern University. Dr. Johnson is Carlos Montezuma Professor of Performance Studies and African American Studies and the Dean of the School of Communication and Annenberg University Professor at Northwestern University. Dr. Johnson's work examines the intersection of gender, sexuality, race, and religion, with focuses on Black gay men of the U.S. South and Black queer Southern women. Dr. Johnson is known for crafting exquisite performance scholarship, and their development of highly influential queer theory has received multidisciplinary attention. Congratulations, Dr. Johnson. Our fifth and final distinguished scholar to be recognized this year is Raka Shome of Villanova University. Dr. Shome is the Heron Family Endowed Chair in the Department of Communication at Villanova University. The work focuses on post-colonial cultures, transnational feminism, and media communication cultures, with specific research interests in contemporary Hindu nationalism, Asian modernities, and transnational media cultures, among others. Dr. Shome has brought rhetoric and cultural studies together in meaningful ways and has pushed communication studies beyond Eurocentric frames and is a social justice leader in the field. Congratulations, Dr. Shome. Well, this concludes the presentation of our NCA awards, but we have a few more items for you. But first, let's have a round of applause for all of our 2021 award winners. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite Dr. Kent Ono to come up here on stage. We wanted to take a special moment, since we were virtual last year, to thank Dr. Ono for his service as NCA president and now as NCA past president as he concludes his service for the association in those roles, although as I've told him, we're not letting him go. And so thank you very much, Kent.
And now it gives me tremendous pleasure to pass along the ceremonial plaque here to the incoming, soon-to-be president of the National Communication Association, Roseanne Manzik. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, everyone. I look forward to the year ahead. We've had some incredible conversations here about renewal and transformation. And of course, as maybe many of you have heard, my presidential initiative for next year is to lead us through a comprehensive strategic planning process. Woohoo, let's get excited about that. I am. I love strategic planning. But I look forward to the year ahead and, of course, having you join us next year in New Orleans. So this concludes our annual Presidential Address and Awards ceremony. And in celebration, though, we have champagne next door in room 6A. So please join us. Feel free to raise a glass to all of our winners this year. And thanks to all of you for coming, and enjoy the rest of the convention.